And I don't like this mindset of Volkanovski leaping at the bits to get a fight. And the CKB team, okay? Adesanya, this is a message to Adesanya. This is a message to Joe Lopez, okay? This is a message to Freestyle MMA. Tell this man to wait a couple extra months.
I need a fight. A lot of people go, he needs a break. I don't need a break.
So I've been holding back on making this video because I've been waiting for Alexander Volkanovski to come out in the media and to clarify some statements, to maybe tell us that he's changed his mind and that he's willing to take some time off between now and his next fight, given that he just got knocked out, all right? But, of course, and I'm not surprised at all, he wants to move forward. He wants to barrel forward towards a fight in January. The same things are being said from Volkanovski. He has not changed his mind. And to that, I have to say, absolutely fucking not.
I want to get back in camp. Obviously, I need to talk to doctors, make sure there's no concussion, the stitches and whatnot, but I want to get in camp. Like I said, I'm the best version of myself inside and outside of the cage when I have clear direction.
I completely understand that Volkanovski still wants to stay active in his prime. I get it, and he definitely should. All right, he has to make the most of it. I also understand that he needs some direction, and a training camp will give him that. It'll help him stay sane. That is true. That does not mean he needs to fight in January, only 2.5 months after getting knocked out? Hell no, man. Are you fucking kidding me? 2.5 months after getting knocked out. No. How about this? I have a much better idea because Volk wants direction. Okay, Volk wants a clear-cut path. He wants to keep himself busy. He wants to tick all the boxes. He feels like when he's not in training camp, he's not ticking all the boxes. Okay, how about you just extend your training camp, all right? How about just extend it a couple of months? Fight Ilia Topuria on UFC 300. That makes sense. UFC 300 is going to be at the end of March or early April. That's only a couple of months removed from January. I don't understand how he couldn't just extend the training camp. I know that you can't have a 5-month period where you're intensely training for a fight, but use the next couple of months to skill build, to actually get better, to work on your defense, because that was your Achilles heel against Islam Makhachev. And even though, a training camp is going to help him a lot, it's going to give him a sense of direction, it's going to help him feel like he has a purpose, just take the fight with Ilia Topuria, but plead with the UFC to make it at UFC 300. I am sure they will be willing to let Alexander Volkanovski get a couple of months leeway. All right. And once again, outside of training camp, that's where fighters are usually improving. That's where they're usually skill building, right? Because when you're in training camp, you're just working on fight specifics. And Volkanovski, he needs to work on his defense a little bit because think about Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev got knocked out in the beginning of his career and since then has turned his weakness into his greatest strength. If Alexander Volkanovski has a couple of months, let's say November, let's say December, to just work on his defensive striking, he will massively improve and therefore give himself a better chance to defeat someone like Ilia Topuria, who, although may not be as good as Alexander Volkanovski, who's not as experienced, at least he has that devastating knockout power which can level the playing field, and that will 100% level the playing field when it comes to Alexander Volkanovski's next fight if he takes it in January. Again, Volk is in his prime. He has all the experience in the world, but he just got knocked out. Is he going to start to decline? It would only make sense that his chin isn't going to get any better. Volkanovski's chin is declining. Both of these guys are going to meet in the middle. Why would we want Volkanovski to risk it? As I said, is a couple of months extra just too much to ask for? Is this too much to deal with? Again, take the fight with Ilia. Sign it early. Make this in advance. Volkanovski's not going to pull out. Just take the next couple of months to chill out a little bit and work on your skills. It doesn't have to be so intense. You don't have to be going through these spider meat grinders, whatever these CKB guys and these freestyle MMA guys like to call them. You don't need to be hard sparring. Work on your defense. Work on your offensive grappling. Work on your submission game, man. Volkanovski, you don't need to fight in January. Fight in early April. Fight in March. All right? You need a couple of extra months because that will be the difference between you taking a shot and getting knocked out. And you know what? It may not even be the difference, but it certainly could help. All right? It will only improve your chances of taking a shot. Whereas if you're fighting in January, it's just too risky, man. This is where Alexander Volkanovski's team needs to take him aside, look him in the fucking eyes, and tell him what's what. Hey, buddy, you just got KO'd. I know you want to fight. I know you want to have a training camp right now. Let's focus on getting better. Okay, let's work on your defense. Let's work on your submission game. You haven't submitted anyone. I think Volkanovski could take anyone down in the featherweight division, given the fact that he's not only the biggest featherweight, but he also has really good offensive grappling skills. He's a great wrestler, especially after all of those training camps against Makhachev, getting ready for Yair. And even though Ilia Topuria is a really good grappler, I guarantee you Volkanovski has a couple of crafty veteran tricks up his sleeve that he can use on Ilia Topuria to get him to the ground. And if he can take him down and wrap him up in a nasty submission that he'll maybe learn from Craig Jones, then guess what? He can get the fight over with quickly, and he won't have to fucking stand with Ilia Topuria. My point is, the more time he has to recover from this knockout loss, again, there are diminishing returns. We don't need Volkanovski to take a whole year off. Then he'll come back, he'll be 36 and a half. We don't need that. I'm not saying take a whole year off. I'm just saying add a couple of months. That's it. Add a couple of fucking months, man. You'll only get better. I don't think Volkanovski's going to improve that much or as much as he could if you were to fight in January as opposed to March. I think you guys would agree with that. There's no way he wouldn't show a better version of himself at UFC 300 as opposed to UFC 297, okay? And this can give him purpose. This can give him a sense of direction, all right? This can allow him to become a student of the game, bro, and immerse himself into the world of jiu-jitsu submissions, where Volkanovski hasn't gotten a single submission in his UFC career. I'm sure he has them in his arsenal, but let's see him pull it off against Ilia. Let's see him take Ilia to the ground and sun him down there, right? Ilia's expecting a boxing fight. Ilia's expecting them to trade on the feet. He's expecting Volkanovski to want to fight Ilia's ego because that's usually what Volkanovski does. He gets in the cage, he yells at his opponents, he talks some smack to them while he's jabbing them up, and let's throw this guy off guard a little bit. My point is, bro, you want to give Ilia the best chance to win, you'll fight him in January when your chin still hasn't fully recovered. This is the kind of rash decision that Volkanovski made that led him to getting knocked out, and I just don't want to see it again. This guy, at some point, dude, at some point, needs to find something other than fighting, all right? This is aside from Volkanovski fighting at UFC 300, all right? At some point, Volkanovski needs to have some other plan B, all right? And I hope that that's after the Ilia Topuria fight, okay? I hope that that's afterwards. Because even if he beats Ilia Topuria, if he doesn't find something to fill the void of fighting, and I'm talking about the fact that Volkanovski said that when he's not fighting, he essentially just can't live life without being, in shambles. If he can't fill the void with anything else, this guy will inevitably go on a downward spiral in regards to his UFC career. I'm talking about the Tony Ferguson path. Just getting knocked out, getting beat time and time again, not knowing when to hang up the gloves. You guys get my point, man. I want Volk to take an extra couple of months. It's not a lot to ask. It's not saying don't be active. Okay, just make your training camp a little bit longer, all right? Have the beginning of your training camp be a little bit more chill. Working on skill building, working on your submission game, working on your defense. Let's work on the defensive striking. Even though it's already good, I'm not saying Volkanovski's defensive striking is bad. Work on it a little bit and make it your greatest strength, all right? At the latter half of your career. Reinvent yourself a little bit to prepare for the end of the career. I don't want to see Volk get knocked out by Ilia, man. I don't. And I think Volkanovski's better than Topuria. But if he fights Topuria in January, Topuria will land shots. He just will. He will. And I don't like this mindset of Volkanovski leaping at the bits to get a fight. Sit back. Get better. Assess the situation the way it needs to be assessed. And the CKB team, okay? Adesanya. This is a message to Adesanya. This is a message to Joe Lopez. Okay? This is a message to Freestyle MMA and the whole Volkanovski family. Tell this man to wait a couple extra months. Send him this video. I want nothing more for this guy to succeed. Okay? I want nothing more for this guy than to succeed. I want to see him take a couple of months, man. To skill build. UFC 300. Extend your training camp. Go out with a bang. Because again, why does he want to rush? What does he plan on having 3 fights next year? 5 fights next year? That's unrealistic. It's unrealistic, man. He's 35. There's never been a fucking featherweight champion at the age of 35 and older. What's the rush? This could be his last hurrah. All right, he only has a couple of fights left in his prime. Let's make sure these are wins, not losses, man. Let's not fucking mess with this guy's legacy. All right, it's just too risky. It's too risky. Send this video to Volk. Do not let this guy fight in January. Tell him UFC 300. Main event that shit. Co-main event that shit. Use the next couple of months to turn yourself into a monster. Okay? Turn yourself into a fucking defensive juggernaut. That's what I want to see from Volkanovski. Until next time.